Is 6:15 here on July 17th, 2025. This is the July 2025 meeting of the Library of the Pennsylvania Public Library Board of Trustees. And you are here for our regularly scheduled meeting. First order of business is our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right. As for the approval of the agenda, I do have two notes. One, there was a minor update yesterday afternoon. Everybody saw that. That was adding a topic talking about bylaws discussion related to slates. And then the other thing I'd like to do is adding right to the finance committee update is adding a buildings and grounds committee updates that Melissa will provide for us. With those changes, the motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Seconded. All right, Susan has moved. Craig has seconded. And any discussion? All those in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
There we go. That carried. Terrific. Any comments from the public? See it none. We are moving right along. Consent agenda. I heard the agenda discussion that none of the items were being removed from the consent agenda. Agreed? Yes. Or may we take the consent agenda by consent? Consent. Yes, yes. Very good. Then we shall move on. And I did see that Chase is regional branch manager of the public library now. So sad to see his name on it. All right. Then we are down to finance committee update.
The finance committee met Tuesday night, and 2 out of the 3 of us met. We seemed to think that would be there. And everything was pretty normal and cut and dry from what I understand. I've not done one before, but I know that we had discussed there was some monies added for the salary assistance because we're having some people positions and things like that. We had discussed they had put a little more money in for insurance, for furniture replacement, and then in the 4 category. You can see for the land and buildings per my quarter to put a considerable amount of money in there for updates and projects at the library. But other than that, everything was seemed pretty normal to me.
The public hearing for the budget for next year will be in August. So public hearing is in August, and then voting in September.
All right, so I'll be a special meeting where we'll do our But we've done, I understand we've done budgets before, but I just don't remember the finance committee publishing something like this or developing something like this. It's been done before.
I don't think he did it last year, and then wanted to do more feedback with the board on it before the public hearing. And so I don't know what everything that was my first one last year. So it might have been done. I don't know.
Sounds good. Beth, did you and your other committee member have any questions or things to flesh out from this?
No, not really. Just some, some minor questions about kind of what I had talked about. Extra monies that were added in there, but Kim didn't have any questions really that she until he was still at camp or starting camp. So.
Got it. All right. Any other questions on the finance committee update? Hearing none, and that we don't need any action on this right now, correct? Okay. Then we'll move on to buildings and grounds committee updates. This is added not so much as told Craig prior to hearing, I was looking to add this, and we had the appropriate deer and headlights looks. I didn't think I missed a meeting. We had not. We just want to update some of the things that buildings and grounds have been meeting on in recent months and getting updates.
Sure. Just with the small project, KRM has started doing every other week meetings with library staff and mapping to our board rep to just keep the project moving on. So when we met last, we went over a few different conceptual ideas of more like design aesthetics and just providing feedback. And so they're taking that back to come back with some more like targeted designs of what actually we might be doing. And so they'll be bringing those back, but we did issue the RFQ for a construction manager as constructor. So that those responses are, I'm trying to remember, I think they're already due, and we're hoping to do interviews with shortlisted candidates the week of July 28th. So just in order to keep that project moving forward, we were wondering if the board would give approval for me to sign the contract with input from Buildings and Grounds Committee, and knowing their preferred candidate. And so then that would be signed after the contract is vetted by our construction attorney and then also AM, our board.
Okay, so we do a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, interview, let you know our preference, and then you review the contract with legal counsel and then have authority to sign.
Yes.
Okay.
The worry is that waiting until the August meeting puts us the timeline back and slows things down.
And who's on the building and grounds committee?
Right.
So I'm looking at that and Michelle
Yeah.
saying, what concerns do you have about, because in many ways, that's why we wanted to add that to the agenda and have a discussion about it. Because that's more or less, it's not seeming authority, but it's granting authority to, for the community, actually.
I just the committee.
Very good. Is there any further discussion on Cassie, do you want something more formalized is what that resolution is?
Yeah, it's a resolution and sometime formal vote on it, I think that would be good.
Right, and we'll get there. All right. So I'll formalize it like this and make a motion here. So I'll move that the Board of Trustees grants authority to the Buildings and Grounds Committee following the interviews, so that our recommendation will authorize Melissa to review the contract with Library Council and Construction Council and to execute that contract as recommended by the committee.
Second.
I move, Susan seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
That was well.
Quick question, just so I can be ready for that interview, which precise role are we interviewing for?
It's for the construction manager and constructor, so it will be the construction company. So I'll
The general contractor essentially.
be,
Okay.
so I'm sure Matt will have interview questions, and I haven't seen any of the responses yet, so.
Awesome.
All right, next, is there anything else in the buildings you guys want to talk about? And the scope of that's pretty much set because we've already talked.
Yeah.
Budgets and that sort of thing, that's within common conversation. We're pretty set there. Nothing else in buildings and grounds? Any other questions on status of buildings and grounds?
But actually, I do have just one quick update, which has been coming in, just a quick heads up. The county is gonna be doing some expansion of Oleo Road, and so they are, they've reached out to us, and we're gonna just, they need to acquire some of the land of the property that we own on Oleo Road, so that, the upgrades that they're gonna be doing. So we're gonna be working to that.
What struck me, and they reached out to me directly, and they sent us a packet, is something like 1.2 acres, like it's not. I didn't think it was that tiny. I can look back and.
I was gonna say, he's like, how did it?
It was shockingly more than I thought.
Well, I had some questions for them about it. I wasn't sure if that was the entire project or our
Right.
section.
Right.
Because if it's the entire project, I think ours would be just the.
Or are they asking for more than they use as additional easement that? might be something to ask.
I don't know.
Yeah, then they're actually got me now and requesting bigger space, so they have more trees. Future developments.
So to accommodate planned improvements, city needs to acquire approximately 1.141 acres of permanent fee simple right of way, of which 0.115 acres is existing right of way under the pavement. So about an acre's worth of what they're looking to acquire.
That's one.
Right along the road. Along the road, so.
Billable understand better.
Yeah, this will definitely, so we'll review this, we're gonna schedule a meeting, we'll have, Matt involved, and then also we'll have make sure. Construction attorney and board attorney review it, and then, no, I don't have any authority to sign it, it'll be brought to the board for review, so.
Assume you'll need all property for constructions could also help our budget on the project.
That's this city, or is it county?
It's city.
It's city, okay, yeah, that's right.
I mean, I think it reduces potential footprint of buildings. So now you see,
Well, presumably they're requiring to be, they're just paying for it.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's not involved.
And tree,
Oh, yes, so the plan moving forward for the tree to deal with the, sort of the vertical instability. We will be removing the trunks and putting in like furniture that will just sort of, take that place of that footprint that sort of mimics the feel of the tree. And then leaving the evergreen.
We've got approval and all that from all the relevant parties.
Yeah.
Awesome.
yeah. I was excited to do those developments.
Good.
All right, anything else on buildings and grounds? Hearing none, expenditures over administrative threshold, we have 2.2 for administrative. Executive resolutions, one for server, one for switch.
Yeah, so both projects were planned through the IT roadmap. They just maybe are hitting us a little bit sooner. It would have been, well, the switch replacement was slated anywhere from 2024 to 2026 at recommendation of our IT managed provider. So that one is having a bigger impact on us right now because the switches that exist, some of them are very low power. So some of our internet devices are struggling to keep up, and that primarily impacts some phones, some of our new phones that we're adding. But it is also affecting some of our wireless access points here in Fishers more closely. So we're recommending to move as fast as we can on that, just to alleviate staff issues, staff experience. We have a little bit more crew with our exit, whatever the days. And then the servers, those are approaching end of life as well. That was slated to be a 2026 project. But again, we're coming up on end of life on some things. And our IT managed provider is a little concerned about the security of some of the conferences that are upgraded. And that could take down some larger important functions of the library. So they're not necessarily surprises, they're just a little bit earlier than we intended to do it, but costs and everything are in line with what we would expect for those projects.
And ultimately spending down our cash and actually fits our larger goal in the short term, right?
Is this our usual vendor for, okay.
Do you take bids on things like this or not unless they're higher? We have taken bids on other projects that are larger scale projects. So when we did our wireless expansion for both buildings, we did do that. So much larger. This one
We bid out when we selected the IT manager with it.
right, because you just changed that.
Well, no, that's our support.
Oh,
IT, this is our managed network.
okay. So that's what it's.
Yeah, so they,
Questions? Anyone wish to move either or both of the AERs?
I'll make a motion to approve both the hours that were presented.
Second.
Motion from Craig, second from Michelle. Any discussion on approving those two? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Let's get our technical.
Will you guys be, is that gonna affect your? You're gonna have to be down. For a period of time. We're gonna, we will work with them to mitigate that much, well, yeah, or after. Opening hour, I will say that one issue that we're experiencing, we've been experiencing for the last week and a half. I mean, that takes down services on hours and when something goes wrong. Right, so it's not functioning right now. But yeah, we would definitely work to schedule this as much. Least amount of impact. But yeah, there will be some, sometimes. Not close library. I guess that was. We're gonna close. If all things go well, no. Yeah, I get it.
Any other discussion on closed hours? How about you? Hearing none, I think we can move on to credit card resolution policy. Melissa, what's going on?
Okay, so we have a draft of an update to our credit card policy. The previous policy was just 4 lines long and was accompanied by credit card guidelines. But the guidelines hadn't been approved by the board. So Kim, our amazing CFO, included sort of crafted an updated policy to incorporate what those guidelines are. She also added, there's some language that, new language the FBOA is requiring that staff will be required to sign out, use the sign out log, which we already do, but just looking, or adding extra fields to our current sign out log. And there's definitely a requirement from the FBOA. And then she also added some additions to the credit card policy about employees who repeatedly lose receipts, some information about where to find the sales tax exemption certificate, and information about travel procedures that travel procedures must be followed. And then accompanying that, we have a credit card resolution, which is required, but we couldn't find it in between with that through lots and lots of old minutes, and we not locate them, so we do have one.
Everyone have a chance to review the draft policy and draft resolution? Any discussions on those items?
That's a good question. I mean, how often are credit cards being utilized? Because I know at the last meeting we approved like the per diems and stuff. So when our credit cards are being used, we're like, are we making either reimbursements or per diems?
So, okay, so the credit card we use in different instances. So like our facilities staff use them fairly regularly getting gas for the vehicle, or our staff use it to go out to purchase supplies. Some recurring monthly expenses are just on a credit card, just like the monthly bill. The difference is a per diem we do use when staff, not all staff have a credit card, so staff who do, if they're traveling for a conference or something, they would put their expenses on the credit card up to the per diem amount. If they don't, then they can put it on a personal card and get reimbursed. Did that answer the question?
Just out of curiosity, we get any points or cash back on that?
Yeah, it goes toward, we use it towards the bill. That way.
It just is possible. So you have.
Okay. We do, it does, in the policy, state that all, like, perks for the credit card will be used for benefits of the life.
Well, cash back.
All right, any other discussion? Or motion?
I'll move to approve the credit card policy.
Michelle has moved, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Susan. Any discussion on the motion to approve the credit card policy? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We have a new credit card policy. Next is. What was added yesterday, we need the bylaws discussion. And I can provide, we'll get back to them on these. So the bylaws currently require, and it's one of the issues, I think, so the nominating committee is supposed to meet and then present a slate, I think even during July, which the officers then are voted in August. And given, I think, Craig, your appointment just would expired, you got reappointed, congrats. Most of us are in August, and I think Susan, you might be early September.
It seems like it was September, yeah.
And so it's a little difficult for the nominating committee and then for the board to consider a slate of officers when you don't know who's actually going to be board members. And so Melissa had suggested that we put back the officer, the nominating and electing of officers until a little later in the year, we actually have a full body of the 7 individuals. So we'll add to that.
That's pretty much it. So I think if we can move it to October, when I look, Craig's is renewed in July, everybody else is August, and Susan's yours is September. So if we did it in October, we would have to know who's going to be on the board.
So is that having the nominating committee present the slate in September for voting or meeting in? I'm trying to remember exactly how that was. We have a section planned that, but. And also the way our, one thing I'll put out there is the way our amendment of bylaws rules work. This is the proposal. We have to present the proposal today. And because all 7 of us are not currently present, it has to be approved at the August meeting.
Okay.
We can do it all today.
Okay, so it looks like Susan is early September, so it doesn't, I don't think it says when this committee has to meet the bill this way. It just would need to be.
Because the slate doesn't have to be presented in the previous month, does it?
Well, the bylaws say the nominating committee shall work each year to present a slate of officers for consideration at the July meeting to be incorporated at the August meeting.
At the
We could, these are all
change.
right, these are all, so we can say, look, just bring it all to the August meeting or the October meeting.
Yeah.
That probably makes. But I think there's 4 sections that we need to do in order to make that work.
Article 3, Section 2.
So leave August and insert October in its place. Because that is the regular meeting in October of each year, that we have a meeting for election of officers. So that's the first one. And then Article 5, Section 1. Calls for when officers shall be elected at the regular annual meeting, and we would change that to October. And then to begin to serve for 1 year beginning September, change that to November. Right? And then Article 6, Section 1D is that committees and we want to change the July and August probably to October and that. And I can read off all this as many people.
Okay, so change July and August to October.
I think if that's what makes the most sense. I mean, do we need the nominating committee to bring something to us a month before we vote on
Not necessarily.
it? I mean,
I don't need to think about that.
Agreed.
It would be in your board.
Yeah, put it in. You get ahead, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Article 7, Section 1, is that committees and elected at the regular annual meeting, we would change that to October. And then Article 8, Section 1, is that committees and elected at the regular annual meeting, we would change that to November. And then Article 9, Section 1, is that committees and elected at the regular annual meeting, we would change that to October. And then Article 10, Section 1, is that committees and elected at the regular annual meeting, we would change that to November. And then Article 11, Section 1, is that committees and elected at the regular annual meeting, we would change that to October. And then Article 12, Section 1, is that committees and elected at the regular annual meeting, we would change that to November. And then Article 13, Section 1, is that committees and elected at the regular annual meeting, we would change that to October. And then Article 14, Section 1, is that committees and elected at the regular annual in the following sections, Article 6, Section 2 has standing committee appointments shall be made ever before the second regular meeting of the year. That, so I think that just needs to be changed to the November meeting, so that to the board president does those points. What strikes me also is the one section of bylaws that discusses that officers serve for 1 year, September 1st. If we do extend this out, then I don't want to be considered that our officers are not valid in September and October. So I think that would be part of our resolution as well.
Next few days, officers serve on this day to this date.
Or, right, I mean, we could just. Yeah, I guess the problem is once we get to the September meeting, we haven't changed it. So we could change that. Just say to the next election of officers, that started in September.
So which section is that?
That's Article 5, Section 1. So rather than November saying to serve until the next election of officers.
Okay.
Please, that is all,
Until the next election.
rather than serve for 1 year and getting that.
Only having elections and some stuff.
So we need to propose this at this meeting and then go to the next meeting.
Right. So why don't I do this? I've written this all out. So I'll. I hadn't thought about what happens in September and October of this year until sitting like you today. Okay, so it feels weird because this could affect me directly, but I'll make most regardless. So I'll be reading about it. So I think in order to make this work, make it make sense, I will move as follows. Article 3, Section 2, we delete August, insert October in its place. In Article 5, Section 1, we delete August and the phrase for 1 year beginning 12:01 a.m. on September 1st, and insert October, August, and until the first day of the month following the next election of officers in the places respectively. And then in Article 6, Section 1D, delete July and the August, and insert October in that in their places respectively. And then in Article 6, Section 2, delete of the year, and insert November in its place and also January 7th. I'll send this also to you so that the net result of this motion being that the election of officers will occur at the October meeting. And that
It would be nominated.
right, I mean, that the committee would have to be meeting. Yes, for consideration of that October meeting.
But we can vote this.
We can't vote on it, but I do need a second in order to have.
Well, we have
live.
As opposed
this time, right?
Well, awesome.
Okay, Susan signs. Very good. So that is the proposal. It'll be written up for your consideration at the August meeting. Because the minutes shall only be made at regular meetings of the board and must be proposed at least 1 month previous to the final action in the same, unless all the members unanimously waive the second reading. And that only is possible of all 7 of us. So.
One small point of discussion, in the past, in a few events, we, by a majority, suspended the bylaws. Reading that in light of Article 13, is that legitimate?
I did not do that question. What was the thing?
So.
We're reading Article 13 right now.
Yes, Article 13 essentially says we have to propose unless there's unanimous consent proposed and amendment to the bylaws, full meeting ahead of actually acting on it. In the past, sometimes the board would run into a weird deadline or something, and we can't comply with the bylaws, we would move to suspend the bylaws or to, I know there's been officer changes in the past before. I'm trying to size that, is that legitimate practice in light of Article 13? And if not, what do we do when we run into those circumstances?
I mean, we could look into potentially amending that section as well if we need to. I can discuss it further with Anna and we can answer for you. So we can follow up on it.
Yeah, something I was going to throw out there.
Well, but. So Article 13 does say if all board members are there and we can waive it. So that would only come in, be a problem if we didn't have a good board and we needed to vote.
Which happens.
Yes, yeah,
5
okay.
minutes.
Okay, so we can vote on Andre's proposed change next month, and then we can have some options that we can present in August that, and maybe vote on those in September. So, okay. Just to summarize it, sure.
That felt way too much like work. Any other bylaws discussions? Good. All right, next is Charity New O's minutes. Lisa, foundation update.
Yeah. It's been a big month for us, actually a big last 2 weeks. We officially received our 501(c)(3) status from the IRS on the 8th of July. So that is a big news. We were expecting it to be more fall receipt, but we got it surprisingly on the 8th of July. So we also had a board meeting that day, which was exciting because we had 4 new board members elected. So we now have a total of 11 members on the board, 9 fully members. Our goal is to recruit 5 more by the end of the year. We are up to, let's see, we have now 8 board committees. So everyone is serving on 2 board committees on top of being on the executive committee, which is on. One of those is a public launch committee. We have determined that we will do a public launch for the foundation on September 15th, in the middle of library card sign-up month. And we selected that because we knew that the library would be doing it before that month, so we waited. It passed that, so we'll do our launch. And so then we have a small ad hoc committee that's planning how we'll do that. We opened a bank account today, which we had to do after we received the status. We had $520 more gifts that came in this week, which is what we used to open the bank account. In the next few days, we will be setting up our online giving because if we have a bank account, we can do online giving. So we will have in the next week, we'll have a form and the QR code so we can start receiving gifts. we are going to be doing some pre-launch solicitation for people that are in our friends and family. And so we'll start that as we updated and have a QR code and donation form up. And then we'll be starting our social media with at the end of the month. So it's like we don't have a lot of money just took off. So it's going to be a really exciting time. So,
Sure.
any questions? It was a really great meeting, wasn't it? We had got a lot of energy with people, so we'll have to figure out something we can get to be the board members of the time.
Thank you. Terrific.
All right, that takes us through the director's report.
Okay, so, I think I mentioned at the last board meeting that, we hired a new facilities director, Riley Kennedy, and, he started already, and he's been doing just a really fantastic job, bringing a lot of energy and ideas to, the job, and he's meeting staff and a lot of vendors, learning the ropes of, government funding and things like that. I'm really excited to have him on board and a member of our team. Molly and Anita met with representatives from Fisher's Parks and Fisher's Parks and Rec to discuss the possible placement of a full blocker out at Flatfoot Creek Park. So we're working through logistics, that hopefully we'll be moving forward with that. That's sort of our pilot area, and so we want to test it, and then if that goes well, we could look at expanding it to some more places throughout our service territory. It's summer, so it's been very, very busy here at the library, especially for our youth services department and for our outreach department. They go into hyper overdrive in summer. Youth services has a lot of special programs, and they tend to draw very large crowds. And if you can pretty much walk into the youth services department and it is just teeming with people, which is wonderful. And then our outreach department is just kind of on the go nonstop. And they go all year round, and there's just so many events in the summer, like summer markets and festivals. They do pop-ups at parks, and so I just want to recognize that they are working extra hard in the summer, and we recognize that it is exhausting. Danielle in our public services department did another successful puzzle swap and puzzle showdown. And that was here in Fishers this time, and people were already lining up before it started to get into either puzzle swaps. Puzzle people are intense, so but it's a really cool program. And they did it in Noblesville, and she added a Fishers, doing it a second time in the year here at Fishers. So we also had Sydney in Ignite. If you remember, the Pacers were doing really, really well, and so she made this really cool poster that she made for recognizing it. That's with our new rhythmograph. So she made, it was like a limited run that she made, but it was really cool. And I wanted to show it because this is what the equipment that you all approved you can do. So and then also the Crossroads Discovery Center, our archives has a lot of really neat things in it, including a lot of artwork. And they just put up their first exhibit in the area of George and Worth Brem's collection. So if you're in the area, if you go up to the CRDC, you can walk around and see other things that they have put up. So there's some really interesting stuff there. So this is the first. We just finally got all of the things installed so that they could hang the pieces, and so it looks. So if you have time, I recommend checking it. And then I'm happy to answer any other questions about information in the director's report.
The interactives in CRDC that are having problems with, what sort of problems, and is this like wear and tear we weren't anticipating, or something on the?
More like technology, and they're working through it, and I don't have a more recent update than that they're troubleshooting it with them.
Brincating them. Any other questions about director's report? Hearing none, we had no other old business. Our next meeting is August 21st, 2025 at 6:15 in Noblesville Branch. With that, is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.